Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great reluctance that I cast my eyes and my intellect upon the dismal and wretched fare served up by Dr. Jordan B. Peterson in his recent podcast with the hapless Dennis Quaid. Allow me to forewarn you, this is not a critique born of mild discontent, but of sheer apocalyptic disdain. There is absolutely nothing here that resembles intellectual rigor or honest engagement. Instead, what we are subjected to is a parade of logical atrocities and rhetorical sins that would make even the most gullible soul cringe. From the outset, Peterson employs the tactic of the red herring, a distraction that sends us careening off course and into the abyss of irrelevance. He begins with a diatribe on the defeat of the communist empire and transitions into today's so-called re-emergence of Marxist ideas. What, pray tell, does Dennis Quaid's portrayal of Ronald Reagan have to do with his vague and paranoid allusions to Marxist phantoms haunting today's campuses? It's a clumsy diversion that only exposes Peterson's own intellectual bankruptcy. Peterson's discourse is riddled with hasty generalizations, the hallmark of a mind eager to leap without ever looking. He declares with nauseating certainty that today's political unrest is akin to the sinister machinations of Marxism, without offering a shred of concrete evidence. It's all hand-waving, histrionics, and baseless fear-mongering. This, folks, is the modus operandi of the demagogue, not the scholar. He then proceeds to equate Reagan's anti-communist crusade with modern-day political skirmishes, committing the cardinal sin of false equivalence. To compare the ideological struggle of the Cold War with contemporary student protests is not only ludicrous but intellectually dishonest. It's like comparing a thunderstorm to a nuclear apocalypse. Both involve the sky, but the similarities end there. The appeal to authority rears its odious head as Peterson lionizes Reagan to a messianic degree, framing him as the demigod who single-handedly smote the Soviet dragon. It's an all-too-familiar tune for those who traffic in hagiography rather than history. The veneration of Reagan is so exaggerated that one half expects Peterson to demand that Quaid's film be enshrined in the National Gallery as a holy relic. And what would a Peterson dissertation be without his trademark ad hominem? Enter Donald Trump, whom Peterson, with little regard for nuance, dismisses as a 13-year-old schoolyard bully. Now, one might argue that this is an accurate, if not charitable, characterization. However, it reeks of the very hypocrisy Peterson so often maligns in others. He laments the degradation of public discourse while contributing vigorously to it himself. Next, we tumble down the slippery slope, that logically fallacious terrain Peterson appears to navigate with ease and unerring ineptitude. According to him, unchecked political ideologies today are on a direct slide into totalitarianism. This crude alarmism does little but betray his own febrile imagination. There is no causal chain here, no logical progression, just pure, unadulterated hyperbole. Our long-suffering minds are then subjected to the straw man fallacy. Peterson sets up an effigy of Jimmy Carter as the weak, overly amiable foil to his beloved Reagan's steely resolve. He dissects this caricature with drawn-out glee, ignoring the complexities and nuances that a more honest broker of ideas might acknowledge. It is the coward's method. Demolish a simplified version of your opponent to create the illusion of having engaged with their actual ideas. The hypocrisy is staggering. Peterson makes appeals to compassion and empathy while simultaneously lauding qualities that are antithetical to these virtues. His diatribe meanders through sentimental fantasies about strength and resolve while implicitly endorsing a worldview that prizes ruthlessness and moral intransigence. It's a garden of contradictions, each bloom more poisonous than the last. What we have here is a cesspit of logical fallacies, embellished myths and moral contradictions, all wrapped in the sanctimonious veneer of intellectualism. Peterson has not just failed, he has orchestrated a symphony of failures, each note more discordant than the last. The podcast is an insult to reason, a blight on discourse, and an affront to anyone with even a shred of intellectual integrity. I entreat you, dear reader, to cast off the shackles of such nonsensical drivel and seek out genuine intellectual engagement. For in the realm of ideas, there can be no room for the sham, the illogical, and the morally confused. Jordan Peterson, your false prophets are a dime a dozen, and your fallacies as transparent as glass. History will not treat kindly the purveyors of such intellectual sin. So let us bid farewell to this farce and endeavour to seek truth whatever its cost.